Hey there, welcome to my channel. I'm going to do a quick update on my flea market journals. I just want to say first of all, I sold 2. I know that's not, the greatest thing in the world, but for me, at this flea market, that was pretty spectacular. And even better than that, I had, like I would say 20 to 25 people stop and look at the journals. And all I did was put them on the very corner of a table on the edge so that there wasn't anything blocking them, and I just left them open like this so that they could just, a lot of people just stopped and went like this and flipped through them like that. So, and I put them $12 each or 2 for 20. Now I know that's too cheap, but I'm going to build it up. Hopefully I'll get people that'll come back, and I can build that up slowly. Since I wasn't selling any before, well, I have actually sold some $20 ones there, but these 3 you guys have already seen in the last video, so if you're new to this video, you can go back and watch them. The lady that bought the 2, this happens a lot too, her daughter journals, and she wasn't even quite sure what kind of journal she was doing. It sounded to me like maybe she's doing travel or notebook journaling. Anyways, she bought one for her daughter, and she liked them so much she bought one for herself. And she really liked the 7-inch one, the bigger one. But she liked the 2 that she got them specifically because she said they had more pockets. So in my next journal that I have, and I'm going to show you here real quick, that I made up for this coming Sunday, I'll have all of these at the flea market, all of them. But I made a new one, and then I tried a traveler's notebook. I added some pockets. This is actually a journal that looked kind of like one of these, but I have flipped it into a little bigger, and I guess you guys will notice that the 2 that sold were the manila folders with the fabric on them, and one was retro and one was vintage. So that doesn't tell us anything. This one I made is kind of a mashup of a little vintage and some retro. So, but this had a different cover on it, and I flipped it up into this cover, and I added some pockets because that's what she was looking for, was some more pockets, and that's just one person, so who knows. But it doesn't hurt to add a couple more pockets. So I just want to flip through this real quick and show you I made this cover, and I added some clusters and a little glassine envelope, and there's a little bit of paper in the glassine envelope, a little tag with a vintage cloth fabric tab on it, and this is a pocket, and this is a pocket right here, and then there's this, so this is kind of like a folder pocket in the beginning, some from a vintage children's craft book, some clusters. I'd go back and forth about gluing them in or stapling them in or paper clipping them in. She particularly pointed out the clusters and said she loved them. The one she pointed to was actually paper clipped in, so I kind of went with paper clipping on this one. This has got a lot of real vintage paper in it. These all came out of vintage books. Some scrapbook paper, some paper out of my shop, a magazine. This is from a vintage game board. This is some cool paper I got. Remember those old garden flyers that we used to get in the mail? This came out of one of those. Some flowers that I backed on a little heavier paper, cut them out, fussy cut them. That whole thing is a cluster. Another cluster. I go back and forth on whether to clip them in or glue them in, because once you glue them in, then they can't move them around, so I kind of keep going to the clipping in. But I've got that new thing that I'm doing where it's called an embelly clip. You'll see a video I have on that. I might try that in these small journals too and see. That way I don't have to use as many paper clips. Some vintage recipe, typed out recipe, another cluster, front of a book cover, vintage out of a garden magazine, a garden book, kind of like the encyclopedia of garden books I used to make. This came out of a drawing book, vintage drawing on trees. And this is the center one that I added to this signature to add some more pockets. I put some green stamps in there. This one's fatter than I made the other ones. I'm just kind of thinking I won't make the next one quite as fat, but I had this, like I said, I flipped this into this journal to see if I could sell some more at the next Piccadilly, and it's a little fatter. I didn't even count the pages, but I can tell. Another cluster, kind of a retro cluster. A map page. Some scrapbook paper. This is some vintage fabric that was quilting blocks, and I made it into some little tabs for these flower cards. This is a piece of vintage like recipe ephemera, making on pies. I just clipped it over that page. There's a little piece out of a magazine, an old 1900s magazine. And put through here real quick. So we'll see if this one sells. Like I said, I'm not sure if we're going to do the vintage or the retro. I'll probably just do them both, and maybe eventually I'll be able to figure out which one's selling better or not. This is some, this piece here is some vintage wallpaper. And a little tuck. And this is a tuck here, a tuck here. Another one of those tags, and a tuck in the back. So this has got a lot of extra pockets, so we'll see what happens with that one. And then I thought, I had this one, this is a traveler's notebook, and I made it this fall. I was too late for the spring, so I thought I'd set it aside and bring it back out when it was spring. But I think I'm going to try it and see, because she was talking about her daughter in traveler's notebook, so I think I'll put this one out real quick. These are not too hard to make either, so, and see what people think of this. This is wallpaper pocket. A piece of paper that I made into a bag, and then I laced some ribbon through the edge, and just some calendar paper. Some vintage paper. This is more vintage paper with some lace on the edge. Did a little stamping in here. This is some vintage fabric that I took a scan of. This would go together quick too. I mean, $10 is kind of cheap to sell them for, but I have to pay for the table every time, so it helps me make sure I pay for the table. From a vintage Birds and Butterfly magazine. This is a digital from my shop. This is a so there's a pocket here, and then there's a pocket here, and I did some napkin decoupage on that, and then I made some cards, and these pictures are out of a book that I made and put on Disty called Flower Ephemera. I made those, and then this is some more decoupage on there. And then on this side we have a little bit of booklet, just a little booklet, decoupage napkin, and then 2 spots there. So I think they could be interested in this. I kind of want to try to figure out ways to teach them how to do that, like traveler's notebooks, because then they replace that a lot. Use it for a month, and next month they want another one. The lady was asking me what we use them for, so I had to explain what different uses that you could have for these. A bunch of little map circles in here, and a flip up. So that's my update, and I'll let you guys know if I sell any more. I won't keep letting you know every single time, but this is just the beginning, and I thought you might be interested if you're ever trying to sell anything in your area. I think one of the most important things I've done is just let those journals lay on the edge of a table and don't watch people. Just let them, because then they'll wander over and look through them. And I wasn't having anybody do that before. I had them on pedestals, and I think they thought they shouldn't touch them. Take the closure off and just let them flip through them. People are pretty gentle with them, so. And a postage stamp tag. That's real postage stamps that vintage ones that I stuck on there. Made a little tag in the back. So, there we go. I hope you guys are having a great day, and thank you for watching.